There are foods that we can eat every day to help us to manage our symptoms, support our health, and possibly slow the progression of our MS. Today, I'm going to share 5 tips to help you with your diet. I recently did a video of 6 of the most popular MS diets, and I'll put a link above and below if you'd like to check them out. One of the things that was surprising was how much all these diets have in common. The tips I'm going to share today focus on those commonalities. These tips will help us to increase healthy foods and get rid of foods that may not be so great for us. If you'd like to get a free download of these tips and recipes for the foods that I'm going to show today, put diet tips in the comments below and I'll get you the link. The 5 things that all 6 of these diets had in common were whole foods, fruits, vegetables, healthy fats, and they removed processed foods. Let's start with whole foods. What exactly are whole foods and how do they help? Whole foods are minimally processed and as close to their natural state as possible. The processing they may have is being picked from the plant that they grew on. May have been washed or minimal packaging. They may have been cooked and canned or frozen. Plant-based foods are packed with nutrients, fiber, and antioxidants that support our health. These are all important and can influence our gut microbiome, metabolism, and our immune system. They can help reduce inflammation, reduce oxidative stress, and support gut health. Some examples of whole foods are apples, bananas, spinach, broccoli, berries, beans, lentils, nuts, and whole grains. One of my favorite ways to include whole foods into my diet is by breaking down my dinner plate like this: 1/2 non-starchy vegetables, 1/4 starchy veg, and 1/4 plant-based protein. This keeps it simple. A few examples of this are steamed broccoli, savory chickpeas, and smashed baby potatoes, or fajita bell peppers and onions, jasmine brown rice and Mexican black beans, or bok choy brown rice and sauteed tofu. These are all meals that come together quickly and are so delicious. And I will include recipes for these in my free handout. The next tip is to include fruits every day, especially berries. Fruits are packed with antioxidants like polyphenols and carotenoids and flavonoids, and they can help combat inflammation. MS is an inflammatory disease. They're also high in fiber, which can really help with constipation, which is something many with MS struggle with. Our guts really like having a great diversity of fibers too to help our gut microbiome to be healthy. There's a lot of really fascinating research going on right now into the gut's microbiome and its connection to MS. The healthier that we can keep our gut bugs, the better we may do with our MS. One way to increase fruit consumption is to have ready to eat fruits on hand. Think of things that can be just picked up and eaten with no prep, like apples, bananas, and berries. Having a bowl of fruit on the counter or in the refrigerator where we can just grab a piece is a great way to increase fruits in our diet. We can also make fruit smoothies. 2 of my favorites are my very berry smoothie and my tropical smoothie. I also love blueberry chocolate and ice cream. It's creamy and delicious, and you will never miss ice cream. I'll include these recipes in the handout as well, so don't forget to put diet tips in the comments below to get your link. Next is vegetables. All the diets that I covered in the video where I compared them were also really high in vegetables. Like fruits, vegetables have lots of antioxidants and polyphenols that protect us from inflammation and reduce oxidative stress, but there are a couple of nutrients that I'd like to highlight. Vitamin K2 has found to be lower in people with MS. K2 can help with creating new myelin and it can help with calcium absorption. The other nutrient is sulforaphane. Sulforaphane can help reduce neuroinflammation and can help protect our blood-brain barrier. Studies in the mouse model of MS, experimental autoimmune encephalomyelitis, have demonstrated that sulforaphane treatment reduced disease severity and clinical scores. It's also been shown to inhibit the inflammatory response and demyelination in the spinal cords of these mice. How cool is that? Some foods that are good sources of K2 and sulforaphane are dark green leafy vegetables like kale, spinach, collard greens, and Swiss chard, and cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, Brussels sprouts, and cabbage. One of my favorite ways to eat kale is with this Mexican kale salad. Some avoid kale because it can be a bit tough and there's a lot of chewing involved. In this salad, I drizzle lemon juice and salt over the kale and massage it in a bit. It makes the kale more tender and it's just lovely. A Swiss chard is another fantastic green that's easy to prepare. I wash it, wilt it in a saute pan with a bit of water, and serve it with lemon and red pepper flakes. It is so delicious. Next is healthy fats. I am not anti fat. I do eat a low fat diet, but I definitely include fats in my diet. I try to focus on healthy fats like omega 3s. The typical American diet has way too much saturated fats, trans fats, and omega 6s. The ratio of omega 6s to omega 3s should be 2 to 1, twice as many omega 6s as omega 3s. Unfortunately, Americans regularly consume 20 to 30 times more omega 6s than 3s. That's huge, and it isn't healthy. Some good sources of omega 3s are ground flax seeds, chia seeds, hemp hearts, edamame or soybeans, walnuts, Brussels sprouts, kidney beans, kale, and wild rice. I put flax seeds, chia seeds, or hemp hearts in my fruit smoothies and in my nice cream. And flax seeds and hemp hearts are really nice sprinkled onto a salad. I eat tofu regularly, and it's another source of healthy fats. One of my favorite ways to eat tofu is my garlic tofu scramble. It's also a great source of protein. The final tip is to remove processed foods. This can be a bit more challenging because the typical American diet is approximately 60 to 70% processed foods. A good way to start is to read food labels. I always recommend looking at the ingredients and look for those that have three or less. When transitioning away from processed foods, start by making swaps that cut back on ingredients. This will help with the cravings as you're cutting back on processed foods. For example, swap out the flavored corn chips with long lists of ingredients to plain corn chips that have just three ingredients: corn, oil, and salt. Or swap out the peanut butter that has crazy ingredients and additives for one that has peanuts and salt. Or add snacks that satisfy the sweet cravings, like dates with just a smear of nut butter. Or swap out ice cream for banana and ice cream. This is another one of my favorites, banana split ice cream. It has bananas, strawberries, pineapple, and cocoa powder. It is so tasty. Another way to avoid processed food is to shop the perimeter of the grocery store. This is where you're going to find the most whole foods. They'll be in the produce section and in the frozen foods section. The middle aisles of the stores tend to have shelf-stable foods that are in packages, and they're going to have more preservatives, flavorings, chemicals, and added sugars and fats. If you're going to buy packaged foods, ignore the promises on the front of the package. That's just marketing. Turn the package over and read the ingredients before deciding to add them to your cart. It's best if we can eat as much whole food as possible. What are your questions around eating more whole, real foods? Put them in the comments below, and I may include them in an upcoming video. To get your free handout that includes these tips and the recipes I mentioned today, don't forget to put diet tips in the comments below. I also wrote a book that includes even more meal plan ideas that are simple and nutritious that I will link in the comments and description below as well. To see more on eating healthy diets, watch these videos next. And until next time, be well.